Big shout out to Prime XBT for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know who Prime are a platform where you can not only trade crypto, but you can also trade FX, commodities, and stock indices. And the beauty of these guys is you can use crypto, either Bitcoin or USDT, as collateral to trade against these pairs. If you want to find out more about them, then check out the links down in the description. And if you do want to trade with them, then use our codes below to get up to a 7,000 USDT deposit bonus and 25% off trading fees. So thanks once again for sponsoring today's video. Good morning, gang. Good morning. Welcome to this week's altcoin update. First and foremost, before we start, remember nothing discussed today is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is all for educational purposes only. Now that's out of the way, quick recap from last week. A few of the coins we were looking at, FET, FET, DYDX and Dash. Obviously, the plans that we were making last week, I think when we recorded this video it was last Tuesday, so we were here and we were coming back up. We were talking about at the time, if the current range high does hold, then looking for another rejection. But obviously we were talking about we'd already seen that initial rejection, well, a few times prior. So obviously the more times an SR level gets hit, the weaker it becomes. Lo and behold, what happens, we said if it does break out of this range, which we got a nice breakout, a successful back test. Obviously we spent a couple of days here on the back test, so we were consolidating just above the range highs, and then lo and behold, we got this pump into this region that we were looking at. And if you forget what this region was, well, effectively it's just the old macro range. So as we can see here, we've come up, decent spike, decent move, to be honest. I mean, what's this since the breakout? It's a 55% move. That's a big move. The AI narrative at the moment, well, I don't know if it's still going to be as strong, but it was obviously very strong last week, which is why we were talking about it. Came into this rejection, and we've had a few rejections off it so far. So obviously looking forward, if we do get another rejection here, now bear in mind again we have tapped it a fair few times, but until it breaks, it is to be considered as resistance. So ultimately I'll be looking, if this does roll over, then potentially looking for a back test down at the old range. If it does manage to hold here and we start continuing to get consolidation under here, then I'll be looking for a pop through. So first and foremost, obviously you'll be looking for a pop through. Does it take these highs? Does it take these highs? And then reverse on you for a short trigger? Or do we just continue up? And if we just continue up, then we just trade in this old range. Let's throw on a quick volume profile in there just to get a better idea. And we can see here, just above this range, we've got this value area low. If it gets above that, then ultimately I'm going to be targeting up towards, realistically, this macro point of control, which is coming in roughly around, well, that's 28 cents. So obviously that'll be the next zone, effectively, if we do manage to get back into this old range. If we don't manage to get back into this old range, then we'll just continue trading down here, first and foremost, between the ranges. If it gets acceptance back into this old range, then we'll continue trading this range. If it gets above, then we trade the macro range. Very simple, level to level. DYDX. So we'll see what's going on here. Where was Tuesday last week? Here. So this is where we recorded the video last week. Talking about, is this a deviation outside of value? We've come back, we've actually front run the range lows, which is quite interesting. Come back up, initially hit value area low, come back into value. Looks like we've had a back test of it this morning, and now we're holding here. So the plan for here still remains the same as it was last week, no change. If we're going to drive up here, then looking for this red box, which is the EQ lined up with the point of control. So obviously you've got a big zone here as what should be considered as quite strong resistance. I mean, we can see there's a lot of volume within this value area, a lot of volume. So this would be, if you are long and you're holding onto some and you've not taken profits yet, which, why would you not be taking profits at this initial resistance? Then you'd be looking up here as a take profit region / potentially looking for shorts. Above that, then again, you're just trading value and you're just trading up towards the value area high. Bear in mind, each one of these highs could be taken at the same time, the stops, which then could effectively cause a cascade effect up, or a short squeeze, as some might call it. Dash was the other one. Let's zoom out and then zoom back in. Where are we here? Right, let's have a quick look back. So we're back here when we're recording the video. So obviously we'd see we were talking about the deviation outside of value, very similar to dydx. Come back in, back tested effective value. We have front run it slightly, and then we've got the drive up. And what we were talking about at the time is the first ideas would be taking the liquidity of these, which we can see we have taken the liquidity. If we draw on a line, taking the liquidity, and it's caused a reaction. So obviously we've taken the stops, it's caused a reaction. If this does continue up, then I'm just going to look for the same again up here. Potentially take the liquidity with a pullback. And if it does manage to continue up, then ultimately I'm looking at this point of control. This should be considered a key area. If we throw on our volume profile, for here, we can see here that these stops here, we've got this high volume node, but effectively clear above this old consolidation, which we can see here, which is coming in roughly around, call it $63 for easy numbers. Then I'm looking for a run to that point of control. To the downside, a rejection here, again back down to the point of control again. Lose that value area, and yeah, so on and so on. It's just level to level. This isn't a time to get macro bullish. This isn't a time to get macro bearish. But we've had a significant sell-off since the highs. Let's just hide all this. We've had a significant sell-off since the highs. Effectively we were bottoming out where we did previously. Slightly below, potentially grab all the liquidity from here, and could this be the start of a new accumulation phase before a drive up? It could be, but it could just be range bound for a long time, so no point in getting over greedy. Level to level until we can see that continuation of an uptrend on a higher term time frame. I can't speak to that at all. Right, so that's that out of the way. Next, Gala, due to popular request, and I understand why, because obviously Gala has been pumping like mad. So Gala is over 200% from the lows. Now Gala is something that I've been looking at personally because the Bitcoin pair is very interesting at the moment as well. So let's do what we always do. First and foremost, let's throw on a volume profile from the start to where we are now. And obviously Gala's going back now. I'm using the Binance chart here, so this is going back to September 21. There may be more historical data on other exchanges, but this will do for the time being. And what we can see here is price has bounced from value area low. Beautiful. If you were watching that in real time and you caught that trade, fantastic, well done. So what could happen now? Well, first and foremost, let's see where we've rejected from. So look at this. Which high looks good? So how do we do it? Slightly higher. There we go. So it's like a good range. So effectively, similar to what we've just seen on FET, but this is a smaller range. We've effectively come into the range lows of the previous range. Now, to make this a little bit clearer, let's throw it on a volume profile within this before the breakout. And we can see here that we've come up, not quite hit the point of control, but we have come up and we have taken these highs. So, what happens next? Does it continue? Does it turn around here? Well, what can we say? So first and foremost, if we can get back above this, reclaim this, then first and foremost, I'll be looking to take out these highs into this point of control. Okay, so this would be the first area of interest. Clear this point of control and flip this into support, then ultimately I'll be looking up at this EQ. Because this EQ lines up nicely with the value area high of this area. Flip that, then you are coming into the macro point of control. So there's a lot of resistance ahead, and this is why You know, if you are holding on to bags of this, then you need to be aware of these levels on the chart. You know, if you're a fundamental trader, you trade fundamentals and you think there's a good team and all that bullshit that comes along with it, which I'm really not into fundamentals. It's kind of irrelevant, because what you need to know is you need to know the technical levels on the chart, because you need to know where price could turn around. And as we say, above us, we've got quite a lot of resistance. So we've got initially this range low. We've got this point of control, which would be a nice liquidity grab of these highs. Then we've got the EQ / value area high. Then we've got the macro point of control. And then if you finally manage to get above that, then you're looking at range highs. Okay? So there's quite a lot of resistance ahead. So if you are long and you've not taken any profits yet, well, ask yourself why. Why are you being greedy? And if not, you know, is this the time to be long in here into resistance? No, it wouldn't be. I'd want to see effectively, I want to see a reclaim into the old range if you were looking for longs. Or, alternatively, a pullback. Now, what could a pullback look like? Well, let's just throw on a quick volume profile of this lower range, and we can see here. So, as long as we're holding outside of this value, then we could be looking, again, similar to the previous charts. Let's just get rid of some of this. There we go. If we start to consolidate below resistance, then we could potentially be looking for a break of it. You know, you need the volume and everything else to back it up. And then obviously then you're looking at that point of control again, which would be a nice swing failure pattern of this. If we reject here, and we start going back down and we get acceptance back into value, then you'll be looking to trade down this very thin move, because it's just gone up. You know, that I've said time and time again, people get very excited about moves like this. But if you are trading with the trend here, and you see this kind of structure, that this isn't overly bullish. This isn't a great structure. Yes, for the initial pump, but if you're not taking profits after these kind of pumps, then you're a bit of a fool, in my opinion. Because if price does manage to get back down here, then it's likely going to pass through this very quickly. And as I said, the next strongest support realistically is here. Your point of control, which is significant compared to the rest of the volume in this area. So your point of control and your value area low. Lose that, then you back down to your overall value area low. Okay? So, reject here, acceptance back into value, I'm looking down here. Have we got any other confluence down here? Let's throw it on a fib retracement. Let's just throw this onto a standard retracement so we can see. So we've got the 786 coming in at value area low, we've got the 618, the golden pocket around here. Now, yes, it could be considered some support, but for me, I'd much rather see that point of control if it is to come back down, or the value area low. Because again, it's very thin here. It's very thin here. It could offer some support, but I prefer it to come lower if I were looking for longs. But again, you know, if it does get acceptance back to this value, you just be trading this value range again. Not time to get overly bullish, not time to get overly bearish. It's just level to level, level to level. And so what I do like about this region is if we do manage to get back up into this old range and show some more strength, then you know you could see this as a deviation. This whole thing is a deviation to collect liquidity for a further push up, which is possible. You know, because if you do manage to clear this old range and get above this point of control, then ultimately, then you could, not saying you would, but you could see a bit of a run, because we can see here in the volume profile it's very thin around here, very thin. So flip this and you could be looking quite quickly up into the value area high, which will be around 21 cents. Now at that point, then you're meeting quite a bit of resistance above you, because you can see here from the volume profile that you've got quite a bit of resistance, which is all this cluster here. Okay, so level to level, nothing overly complex with that. Take profits at sensible levels, look to hedge your positions at other levels. But once again, you know, if you're looking for swing shorts down in this region, then, you know, realistically, it's not really the play after this sort of sell-off. You know, you are favouring longs, but, you know, just be careful where you are longing. If you are longing, you want to be longing on pullbacks. You don't want to be longing and chasing pumps like this, and this is what people do. Smart traders are starting to sell as it's coming in to key resistance, where people that can't control their FOMO and can't control the greed are buying into this. So the smart traders are selling into the FOMO traders that are buying. They get out of the position in profit. The FOMO traders then get wrecked. You need to control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, then this is a good point to talk about. You know, if you do want to learn how we trade, then come over to our website, spitfiretraders.com. Links down in the description. On here, you can get access to our free Discord. In our free Discord, we've got, you know, well over 1,000 members now, sharing different forms of TA on altcoins, Bitcoin, TradeFi, lots and lots of things. And obviously, then if you want to take your trading to the next level, then check out our Copilot's course. We are just about to start our altcoin trading series tonight, where I'm going to be talking about the various strategies, how I trade altcoins. There's 4 key strategies, in fact, that we're going through. So yeah, if you want to get involved in that live stream and the future altcoin live streams, then check us out. Once you're on there, as I say, you can also get access to well over 50 hours of educational content. You know, everything from absolute beginners, basics, through to more advanced strategies. My chat and chill series, where I talk about my high time frame swing setups for Bitcoin, talk about price action locally. Yeah, so much. Obviously, the trading psychology, which is fantastic. The feedback that we've got from this is immense. Talking about how to control your FOMO, you know, the psychology it takes to become a full-time professional trader. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, then come check along. Also, if you didn't know, on Sunday we started our new series on YouTube, our new free series for you guys, where we're actually going to start talking about some hints and tips on how to become traders. And we're going to talk about things that aren't typically covered by the influencers of the space, so things that you need to understand. So the first one we released on Sunday. This one covers risk management and position sizing. So you'll hear a lot of people say, you know, make sure you got your risk management in place, make sure you know you're using the correct position size, make sure you've got stop losses. But realistically, by saying that, it doesn't answer your questions. So if you want to check out our video there, I actually go in depth on how to work out your position sizing and what risk management does actually mean and how to implement it into your trading. So that's that. Anyway, back to the charts. So that's Gala. We're up against resistance, not somewhere I'd personally be longing. Either looking for shorts or waiting for a decent pullback to get long again. Next one, LDO. Highly requested. Now LDO, admittedly, is not one that we've looked at before. So let's oversee. So price action goes back to May 22, so it's a relatively new altcoin. We can see here from the lows, we have had quite a decent pump. Let's get rid of that. From the lows, again, 196%. That's a decent pump. So why did we stop here, and why were you buying up here? That's what we want to know. So first and foremost, let's throw on a fib retracement. Get that straight into the 786. Beautiful, great rejection there. And I'm assuming if we throw it on this, we can see here. Yeah, we can see here from the volume profile, we've come into a big volume cluster. It's not significant, but it's effectively the last major resistance before potentially new highs. So we can see that there. We can see the value area high here. Now if we throw it on our traditional volume profile, we can probably see this a little bit easier, and then we will get rid of this. Got good volume to back it up as well. Let's get rid of that now. So what can we say here? Well, another thing, just want to see while we're here, why not? Have we got an upwards parallel channel? Nope. Click the right thing, Spitty. There we go. Interesting. There we go. Very simple TA on this. And I think that's all it requires. So obviously we were created, we've come down. We have had then what looks like a 5-wave impulse to the upside. And then it's now, could we argue that that is the full correction? How far have we come back down? we've come back down into the 786. Interesting. So, first thing to note, bear in mind this is very, very new as this altcoin, that it does like the 786. We'll come off the 786 from the low. We've rejected the 786 at the high. So the 786 is something to be aware of on this particular coin. So from here, what happens next? Well, first and foremost, very similar to Gala, it's been quite thin on the way up here. And one thing to note, that if price does end up rolling over here, then this area is just full of stops. Full of stops. You do have little support, SR levels, but we can see here, if we look back on the volume profile here, the biggest support would be this region here. Biggest support. So let's just draw a quick line on here. There. That'll be the biggest support. Now, does that line up with anything else? Oh, look at that. The biggest support lines up with the golden pocket. Okay, so if you're bullish and this does pull back, then first and foremost, this would be an area of interest. Lose this area, then I'm looking for these stops to be run quite fast. And ideally, you'd be looking for those stops to be run and probably coming back into the point of control. Now, bonus points, if this ended up going back into the point of control and it also lined up time-wise with this parallel channel, so for example, this would be all the way out here in March 2023, in a couple of months' time, then you've got extra confluence there. If it didn't, then ignore the channel for the time being. Obviously, the point of control should be considered support for the time being. If not, then you'll be looking back into this mini sideways range here. Lose that, then ultimately you're coming back down into this consolidation down here. To the upside, what happens if it continues up? Well, if it does manage to continue this uptrend, then first and foremost, we've still got to contend with this golden pocket / this value area high / this upwards channel EQ. Okay, so this is, for the time being, very big resistance. Now, bear in mind, we've already had one wick up here, which has taken all these stops. So if it does come up again, is the resistance going to be as strong? We'll have to wait and see. But if the resistance isn't that strong and you manage to flip this, and you take out this high without it being a swing failure pattern, then ultimately I'd be targeting likely the highs again, 310. Flip that without a swing failure pattern, then you'll be looking up towards the outside of this channel. Now, that's not me saying time to get crazy bullish and just long the hell out of it, because right here is not an area where I'd be longing. You've already had a 200% pump. Why would you be longing up here? Realistically, if you were smart, you'd be waiting for that pullback. If you were hoping that this trend continues. So yeah, up here, flip this EQ, flip this golden pocket, continue up. First and foremost, you'd be looking at this high as a swing failure pattern, and then ultimately you'd be looking at that high there. For a pullback, as I say, golden pocket around here looks tasty with all this volume. If that fails to hold, then back down, point of control, value area low / channel low. Yeah, it's not an ugly coin. So far it is sideways, but we have made this low, high, potentially a higher low, and then we're looking for a high. Doesn't look too bad, but again, it's just I wouldn't be FOMO long in here, because you FOMO long in there because you're excited thinking it's going to continue, but as I say, you've already had a 200% pump. So control your emotions, control your greed, control your excitement. Look at the rest of the market. It's not amazing. A lot of the market is range bound. So control. Okay, right, that'll do for today. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to slap a like on the video. Comment down below what altcoin you want covering next week. If it gets enough votes, then we'll consider looking at it. If you don't follow us on Twitter, then check out the links down below. And until next week, gang, that'll do. Bye for now.